Namaskar and welcome to day 8 of our Dhanurmasa Satsang. Lakshmeenatha Samarambham Nathayamuna Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yo Nityamachyutapadam Bhuja Yugma Rugma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Guror Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारी परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदप्राचेत सादासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना. So in yesterday's satsang, we had seen about how Ahalya's curse was redeemed, and then Rama Lakshmana went along with Vishwamitra Rishi further towards Mithila. So when they reach there, they are welcomed with great respect by the king of Mithila, that is King Janaka, and his priest Shatananda. And as we said, there is a great Vedic yajna which is going on in Mithila. So all the rishis who are participating there in that yajna, they also rush because Vishwamitra Rishi is a very great rishi. So everybody wants to take his blessings, and therefore all of them, they rush and they receive Vishwamitra Rishi with lot of respect. Now, after all the, respectful things have been done and all that, then once they are all seated and the discussion starts, then King Janaka asks Vishwamitra. He says, it is given by Valmiki that how he asks this question. He says, Imau Kumarau Bhadram te Devatulya Parakramau Gajasimha Gati Virau Shardula Vrishabhopamau Padmapatra Vishalakshau Khadgatuni Dhanurdharau Ashvinaviva Rupena Samupastita Yauvanau यदृच्छैव गां प्राप्तौ देवलोकादिवामरौ कथं पद्भ्यामिह प्राप्तौ किमर्थं कस्य वा मुने. So he's asking, O Muni, these two Kumaras, these two young boys, they are like the very image of the gods. So they have come, and how they have come, they are walking along with you like elephants and lions. They are having gati, they are having a walk like the elephant, like the simha, like the tiger, and these bulls which are very strong, and they are having with them these swords and bows and arrows and all that, and they have big broad eyes which are like lotus petals, and they look like the Ashwini gods. And why they have come here walking on foot like this, as though like some, by chance some of the devatas from the heavens have come on earth, but they have come along with you walking on the road like this. What is the reason for what they have come, and who are they, whose children are they? He's asking. So now one thing to be noted here is that while telling this, Janaka Maharaja says this Bhadramte. So he's actually saying, let them be safe, all of you be safe. So like he's so overcome by the beauty of these two children, these Rama and Lakshmana, and he's immediately he has this fatherly spirit which arises in him, and he says like, normally no how elders say, like there's something very if there's a very sweet baby or there's a very good thing that a child has performed, then they are worried that there should not be any drishti on that child, no evil eye should fall and like that. So they say, oh, you be happy, be safe, be good, like that. So like that, he's telling this with so much of affection. He's asking these questions to Vishwamitra. Now he's not directly asking the boys, who are you, why you come here. He's asking because they have come with Vishwamitra. So he's asking Vishwamitra, who are these people, what is the reason why they have come here, and like that. Now before he, along with that, when he asks that, then Vishwamitra explains to him that these are the sons of Dasharatha, and they came with me to protect my yajna at Siddhashrama, and after that all the Rakshasas were killed and all, and we came here. So like that, he explains. Also, they tell that because of the touch of Rama's feet, Ahalya got Shapa Vimochana. Now, this Shatananda, who is the Purohita of King Janaka, he is actually Ahalya's son. So he is very happy to hear this news that how his mother has now regained her lost form and she is able to do all the penances in the ashrama. So that happens. Now, after this Shatananda, he narrates like Rama and Lakshmana have come with Vishwamitra. Now, Vishwamitra has told them many stories of great other personalities and all, right? But they don't know how this Vishwamitra Muni became this great Muni. So, Shatananda narrates to them how there was a king called Kaushika, who was the son of the king called Gadi, and how from that Kshatriya thing, he became a Muni, he became a Rishi, and he became Vishwamitra Rishi. So, we don't have time to talk about that in detail. So, we will keep it for some other satsang. But for now, let us go ahead. What happens now? So, all this happens on the first day when they arrive in Mithila. Then they retire, and then the next day, they are taken. The boys are taken along with Vishwamitra Rishi to the court of Janaka. And there, they want to see this bow of Shiva, this Shiva Dhanusha, which is there in Janaka's keeping, right? So when they go there, first Janaka tells them, Vishwamitra Rishi says that, okay, I want these boys to see that Dhanush. So before showing it to them, Janaka Raja narrates the legend of that bow. He tells how that bow came into his keeping. So actually what had happened is that at the time of the yajna which Daksha was performing, Daksha Prajapati was doing one yajna. And then we know that story of how in that yajna, Shiva was not given whatever offerings had to be given to him. And then Shiva was angry and he was about to use his Dhanushya to kill Daksha and all the other people who were there. But then they plead to him that it is not correct for you to get angry like this. And they convince him not to string that bow and not to, do samhara of anybody. And then that bow Shiva had given to this person called Devavrata, who was the ancestor of Janaka. Now, please note this Devavrata is different from that Bhishma in Mahabharata, who was also called as Devavrata. Okay, this Devavrata is somebody who was the ancestor of Janaka Raja. So that is how it has come to be with me, and I have kept it with me. And many kings, so Janaka is narrating, he's saying, it has been with my ancestors, now I am taking care of it. And there are many people who have come, many great kings, many great warriors have come, and they have all tried to mm, lift this bow, they have tried to string this bow, but nobody has been successful so far. And in fact, I have kept this as a condition that whoever is able to string this bow, to that person, I will give my daughter Sita in marriage. That is what he says. Now, here, when he is telling, no, that all so many kings have come, they have all tried, they have all failed. Now, right now, he does not know that what is the capability of this Rama and Lakshmana. He has sensed that why did Vishwamitra bring these two boys? He has a kind of vague intuition that okay, he has brought these two princes here. That too, they are not Brahmanas, they are Kshatriyas. He has brought them here and he's saying he wants them to see the bow. So maybe he's thinking that Vishwamitra Rishi is thinking that Rama is capable. But Janaka does not know, right? So he's thinking, I don't know. So that's why when he says in this shloka, he says, if Rama strings the bow, okay, he says, Yadyasya dhanusho Ramaha Puryadaropanam mune Suta mayo nijad sitam dadyam dasharather aham. So if this Rama manages to string that bow, that means to string the bow, you have to lift the bow and then you have to attach the string and put it in place, right? So if Rama manages to do that, so he's saying if, because right now he is not sure whether he'll be able to do it or not. He says, then I will offer my daughter Sita. And here he uses this word called Ayonija. My daughter Sita is Ayonija. When this Ayonija, what is the meaning of this word? Yoni refers to the womb of a mother. And Ayonija means somebody who is born without having been in the womb of a human mother. So why Sita is called Ayonija? We know that. She was not born to Janaka's wife. She was found when Janaka was to do a fire sacrifice. He had to perform a yajna. Then at that point of time, he used a plow and he plowed the field. And that furrow which was created by the plowing of the field, in that he found this baby, right? So she was born without having connection with a human mother's womb. That is why Sita is called as Ayonija. Now, Sita is telling that she is my daughter, and if Rama strings this bow, I will give my daughter in marriage to this Rama, who is Dasharatha's son. Now, why this Janaka has kept this condition of getting Sita married to somebody who is lifting that bow? This is not exactly directly mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana, but it is told, like traditionally when the acharyas give Vyakhyana, many times they quote this, condition, why it is kept like that. So, actually what had happened is, now this Dhanusya was with Janaka, and everybody knew it is so heavy that at any point of time to carry that bow has been kept in one big box, and that box has 8 wheels so that it can be moved. And then, in spite of that, there have to be 5,000 men who will together pull, and only then they can pull that container containing the bow. So you can imagine how heavy that bow is, right? 5,000 men have to pull that container, which is already having wheels. To pull the wheeled container, you require 5,000 men. So you can imagine how heavy that bow is. Now, it is told that once, when Sita was a very small girl, right, and she was playing with her friends. They were playing with their ball. It so happened that the ball went off into this room where the bow was kept. They were throwing the ball around. It went and it slid under that container in which the bow was kept. Now, everybody else, all the other children were very scared to go and find that bow. But Sita went, and very easily she just pushed that container aside with her left hand, as if it is not that heavy dhanush of Shiva, but rather it is just a garland of flowers. Like that, she simply lightly pushed that box to the side, and she got her ball, and she pushed that thing back in place, and she came out with the ball. Now, this somebody saw, and they went and reported it to Janaka. So Janaka was shocked. He thought that bow is so heavy, and 5,000 men, adult men, healthy men, cannot lift that together by putting their combined energy. And how has this tiny little daughter of mine been able to move aside that box like that? So he knew there is something definitely, supernatural or superhuman about Sita. And he thought, then if I need to have her married to somebody, definitely I should find a groom for her who is going to be more capable than her. So if she can push aside that Shiva Dhanush like that, then only somebody who is able to actually lift that Shiva Dhanush is fit enough to be her husband. That was his thought process. So then this is why he has set that condition. Of course, it is not openly narrated like that in the Valmiki Ramayana, but this is told by the Acharyas as the condition. Why he had kept this condition for marrying Sita only to somebody who is Veera, Shura, and capable enough to string that bow of Shiva. Now this bow is brought in because they want to see. So those 5,000 men pull that container and they bring it. And at that point of time, Vishwamitra, right? What happens next? The bow is brought. So Vishwamitra Saramastu Shrutva Janaka Bhashitam. So listening to what Vishwamitra and Rama, both of them, they heard what Janaka told, the description about that bow and how it came into his possession, how heavy it is and all that, right? So after that, what happens now? Hearing this, Vatsa Rama Dhanu Pashya iti Raghavam Abravit. So now Vishwamitra talks and he says, Vatsa Rama, O child Rama, O boy Rama, Dhanu Pashya, look at, you see the bow, look at the bow. And here Valmiki has made one unique construction of the sentence. The Acharyas explain. They say that actually, according to the rules of Sanskrit grammar, what he should have said is Vatsarama Dhanu Pashyeti Raghavam Abravit. That Pashya and Iti would have been combined in actual grammar rules. But here, he has split, he has broken that one word into two. He's saying Pashya iti and like that. So here the Acharyas very beautifully explain that why is Valmiki breaking those words? Because he's kind of trying to give a prophecy now that just as I have broken this word, now Rama is going to break the bow. That is the forewarning that Valmiki Rishi is giving to us. That is the explanation of the Acharyas, right? So, how Rama breaks the bow, what exactly happens next, we will see in tomorrow's satsang. But for today, we need to see what extra points we can learn from this. Now, you remember that here, when we talked about when Janaka asks about who are these two beautiful princes who have come along with you, then he is mentioning particular gatis of the Lord, particular gates, the way in which the Lord walks. So he's saying they are these two, Rama and Lakshmana, are walking like elephant, they are walking like lion, they are walking like tiger, and they are walking like Vrishabha, right? So actually, if you see in the Vishnu Sahasranama, there is one word, one name of the Lord, one of the 1,000 names of the Lord is Chaturgati. So you may have heard Chaturmurtis, Chaturbahus, Chaturvyuhas, Chaturgatihi, like that. So that Chaturgati is a name for the Lord. And superficially, if you see this Chatur refers to four, the number 4, and Gati is the way in which the Lord walks, how he moves, right? So superficially, if you see, it is referring to these 4 ways in which the Lord walks. The Lord sometimes walks like an elephant. Sometimes he walks like a simha, like a lion. Other times he walks like a tiger. And even other times he is like a bull in his walk. So that is the superficial meaning. But Acharyas explain that this name of the Lord, Chaturgati, has a deeper meaning also. He is the Gati. Gati means he is the refuge. He is the goal. He is the solace for 4 types of seekers in the 4 ashramas. We know that there is Brahmacharya ashrama, Grihastha Vanaprastha ashrama, and Sannyasa ashrama, the 4 stages of life. So, in all these 4 stages, whoever is a sadhaka, for all of them, the Lord only is the gati. So, because he is the refuge for these 4 type of seekers, we can say he is Chaturgati. Or there is another way they interpret this. They say that in life there are 4 purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So anybody who is seeking these 4 purusharthas, these are the 4 things that are ultimately attained by the grace of the Lord. Or you can say that to get to to make sure that you achieve these purusharthas, you have to please the Lord. So like that also, these 4 purusharthas are signified by the Chaturgati. The 4 objectives of human life are Chaturgati. Or the Acharyas also explain that this name Chaturgati can imply that 4 types of disciples seek the Lord. For them, the Lord is Gati. Who are these 4 types of disciples? It is told in the Bhagavad Gita that you have Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu, and Jnani. Artha are the kind of people who are in distress, they are in trouble, and to take away that trouble, they are praying to the Lord, they want to reach the Lord. Then there are Artharthi, people who want some kind of a material benefit by praying to the Lord. That is another category of disciples. Then you have people who are the Jignasu. They are curious. They want to know what is the purpose of life. What is this? Why am I born? And like that. So that Jignasu. And then there are Jnanis, those who know the Supreme Lord's true nature, those who know that we have come into this samsara and the goal of our life is to go back to Sri Vaikunta to do seva to the Lord. So there are these 4 type of disciples. So for all of these, who is the Gati? It is the Lord. So like that, that word Chaturgati can be used for all these kinds of meanings. Okay. Now we said that these 4 Gatis, the way in which the Lord walks, these 4 things, even today, if you see any of the Utsavas in any of the Vishnu temples in South India, you will see that there is many times these processions where the Utsava Murti of the Lord is carried, right? Now these people who are carrying the Murti on that palanquin like thing, in Tamil Nadu, they are called as the Sripada Tangigal. Tangarda means to hold, to bear the burden of, to carry, right? And Sripada refers to the Lord and his holy feet. So these Sripada Tangigals are the devotees who carry the Utsava Murti, the Archa form of the Lord in the temples, right? So even today, in the Srirangam temple, in the Parthasarthi temple at Tiruvallikeni in Chennai, right, in many different temples, these different gatis of the Lord are imitated. You can imagine when there are so many, say, 15, 20 people carrying that Lord, they should have practiced with such perfection to make the Lord. Now they will carry that Utsava Murti in such a way that they walk as if the Lord is walking like a lion. That walk will be different from the walk of an elephant, and that will be different from the walk of a tiger. And like that, there are many different gatis in which these movements are done. So that requires a lot of perfection, and that is indeed somebody who gets to do that seva and they have trained for it. It is a very great fortune that they have to be able to do that seva. Now, sometimes in a humorous vein, some acharyas mention here that only four gatis are given, right? But the Lord can also walk in another gati called Hamsa Gati. Hamsa Gati is like the gati of a swan. And they say that why did Janaka not talk about Hamsa Gati? He only told these four gatis. Why he didn't say Hamsa Gati? Because Hamsa Gati is something that the Lord would learn, Lord Rama would learn only after he got married to Sita. By seeing Sita walk like a Hamsa, he would have learned that Hamsa Gati. There is no chance for him before. When he comes to the court of Janaka, he will not know that Gati. So that's why Janaka is not asking about that Gati, right? So that is told in a lighter way. Okay. Also, this thing that when now Vishwamitra Rishi is telling Rama that Dhanu Pashya, look at the bow, right? What does he mean? What is his implied meaning? Not just to see and stand there. He has brought them all the way from there. He took them against Dasharatha's initial wishes. He brought them, he made them do all so much. He's brought them walking. You can imagine they are Sukumara princes. And he's made them go through all the hardship of being in the forest, walking through the forest, trekking for days on end, and like that. And he's brought them here. What does he mean by saying, see the bow? Is he telling Rama to only look physically with his eyes at the bow? No, what he means, what is his implied meaning is that do the needful. Take that bow and string it and do whatever has to be done, because now Vishwamitra knows that it is time for the Lord to find his divine consort in this worldly life. Okay, so with that, we will come to our end of our topic for today. Let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, Sri Rama, and Guru for inspiring us to, learn of these things, that we have all these commentaries from our acharyas which give us so much insight. We must be grateful for that. So let us pray that their grace and blessings continue to be showered on us. Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunabdhaye Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam Veda Vedanta Vedyaya Meghashyamalamurtaye Pumsam Mohana Rupaya Punyashlokaya Mangalam Pitrabhaktaya Satatam Bhratrabhis Sahasitaya Nandita Lokaya Ramabhadraya Mangalam Srimate Raghuviraya सेतुलङ्घितसिन्धवे जितराक्षसराजाय रणधीराय मङ्गलम् मङ्गलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्यपुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम्. Thank you, everybody. We will meet again with more things tomorrow. Namaskar.